So this is really fascinating information. I'm just relaxing today. And by the way, everyone, Shabbat Shalom. Even if you're not watching this on a Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. And even if you're not Jewish, it doesn't matter. Even if you're Irish, you can celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, and I keep going back to this study that I've been doing. And I'm going to put the links down there. That's where they keep it now, unless YouTube changes in the next few years. Click those links and you can read the full article. It's on the CNN website. And by the way, yes, what you're seeing here is paint. I'm working on this. Now, the subject is Solomon. And he was the king. And the subject also with hiram-abif. Hiram, which is also the same first name as the king of Tyre, or Tsur. Tsur is some of the pronunciation from some of the cultures, which is making it sound a little bit like Sfat, which is actually quite nearby. It's only about 100 and something miles inland from Tsur. Or Tyrians lived there. Now, today, it's a city, one of the fourth largest cities of Lebanon. Now, the king from there, whose name was Hiram, sent materials and advisors to King Solomon at the time of the building of the Temple of God, the first temple. Now, what's interesting is that yesterday I mentioned it, and then I clarified by looking into something, and it's still debatable, but apparently the architect, the master mason or the master craftsman that was in charge of the project, was not the king. And this is a common mistake that people make when they're looking at the history. It was a totally different person, but yet with the same first name. So hiram-abif was sent, in fact, by the king. This is as the premise is going. And this is the person with all the great knowledge, and this is the person that, or one of the people of the composite legend in the Freemasonry ritual. And this is of the 3rd degree ritual, so it's a initiatory process that happens when you're becoming a Mason. Now, I don't want to say too much of it because I have respect for their privacy, but it's okay to look at. I'm not pointing fingers at them any more than Scientology or the Applegate cults or Jim Jones or Urantia under Gabriel or whatever group you might find out there that you find is weird. I'm not pointing any fingers. So I'm not pointing the fingers at Freemasonry because I respect their right to explore things symbolically. But I will tell you this, as Mystery Channel, this is based on mystery rites. And there's a secret meaning. It's occult in the things that they do. So what it means is that anything that's taken on the surface, like a thing or an action, it's not that. There's meaning behind it. So this is everything religious, spiritual. A lot of things in life that are not even spiritual is to be taken with a double meaning. Not as something crude like double entendre or of that nature, but it means that there's a teaching behind it. And everybody knows that as one of the greatest teachers that ever walked on the planet, whatever other title you want to give to this person, or even if they didn't exist, they were a legend, but the legend of them, their type of person is as a teacher. And the great teaching is coming out in the form of parables. So what's attributed in the concept or the figure of Jesus is to deliver ideas that are important and put them into the form of symbolical language, symbolical form, so that somebody has to think about it and see what's under the surface that's a deeper meaning underneath it. That's why we do deep exploration here on the Mystery Channel. Now, mystery rites from ancient mystery schools, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not against God per se. They can be, but they also may not be. So that's not a deciding factor just because it's a mystery school. And a lot of people out there are false preachers and false prophets that will warn you against so many things and make the assumption that something has a connotation of being evil just because it is a mystery school or Kabbalist or Zionist or black supremacist or whatever it might be. But that's not necessarily the fact of the matter, because truth can come through in any shape or form. It's like the part of the fruit that you use. Look, it's in there. Just get rid of the rind, get rid of the roughage, the fibrous, just whatever in there that you're not going to use. And the part that's for you, whether you call it the meat or the fruit or whatever it is usable for your goals, your spiritual seeking. So until you put it all together with all those materials, all that knowledge that has truth in it, is composed of truth, or it will lead you to truth. So that's the whole purpose of the mystery schools, and that's really the whole purpose, the original intent of having Freemasonry in the first place. It's not necessarily for global control, although they may have that as some kind of a collective push, and there's many of them. My only conspiracy about the world is that there's so many factions that's why no one's actually in charge. There's so many factions that have got a stalemate going on here, there, and there, and there, and it's just this ultimate tension in every direction of the world. So nobody's in charge. That's how the Messiah can just waltz in. Now, speaking of which, this video is really supposed to be more about King Solomon as a forerunner, or as in his present time as the Messiah. Not the forever Messiah that they still keep hoping for, that we all should hope for. If you are a follower of God and a believer, and that you are supporting the ultimate purpose of our planet in a divine plan, you are going to have a Messiah at the core of that. It's inseparable. So at the time, which was really around 3,000 years ago, Solomon did this with the help of hiram-abif and many other people that put this together, and Freemasonry is calling back towards that time. What I notice is that people are very interested, but yet many more people are ignorant and only know certain stereotypical things, certain very common repetitive items from the legend of King Solomon. But there's so many more important things that I'm trying to scratch the surface and get you to these teachings, to release them to you, and so that we can discuss it. This is still introductory. I will be getting more deeper and in depth as to what the purpose is, but right now it's such a huge conceptual thing at the get-go to see that King Solomon, with all of his help and organization that he had, was the front runner at the time of the Messiah. And now this article coming out, which is very precise, so that's why I was impressed by it. It's not a new idea, but maybe new to you, and maybe new on the CNN website. You need to read it so that you'll understand more about what I'm going to discuss. stating that because he was the Messiah, he's also directly, intimately connected with Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ still has a lot of expectation today. Now, King Solomon doesn't have a lot of expectation today. It's just that the Freemasons keep it alive in their rituals, and maybe they understand something about it, or their belief is something. But I really can't speak on that. That's getting too much away from the core general concept that first needs to be handled. So all of this brings in my concluding statement that reincarnation is probably the most fascinating thing that we need to get into as a society, a culture, a humanity, and a future science. It's going to be a future rebirth of the reincarnation science or idea, theory. This hasn't happened for a long time. It's an ancient premise. It's a school of thought that they had apparently 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. All wrapped in. See you back here later when we go even deeper with this stuff. Try to keep an open mind so that you're able to put all the pieces together, connect the dots.